literally stupid. It's literally insane. They called a recess while they were trying to certify the count because protesters stormed the Capitol building. My question is, where are the police? Where is the military? Where are the special security that are supposed to be there to guarantee you if this was a Black Lives Matters movement or any other type of movement, there would be a blockade on the building? But there's not. They're allowing this to happen. They're allowing them to get into the building. They're allowing them to force a recess. They're allowing this. This doesn't change the results, people. This doesn't change. You're being allowed in there. That's a whole bunch of white privilege right there. And yeah, I might be white. I might be saying this. And I might be a gaming channel. I'm sorry, everybody. But this is ridiculous. This is just plain ridiculous. This is stupid. Where are the police? Why are they not being told to get away from the Capitol? Why were they allowed to get that close to the doors of the Capitol? Why? This is disgusting. It would have been any other people. Any other people. If it would have been, and they're not even peaceful. They broke through the doors. Look at them all up in the Capitol building. You're not allowed to get that close during this. You're not allowed. You shouldn't be within a block of that place because they are conducting government business. They're conducting, it's more of a ceremonial thing at this point. It really is. Joe Biden's already won. He didn't win. But notice nobody's shooing them away. Nobody's telling them to go home. Nobody's doing anything about this. This is domestic terrorism. You are obstructing a legitimate election. Legitimate election. Okay, guys? You're obstructing a legitimate election. No fraud. You're doing treason right now. Not a peaceful protest. Peaceful protesters do not breach a building. And why nobody's doing anything like this when if it would have been Black Lives Matters or anybody else, they would have shot at people. They probably would have killed some people by now. Because that's how they roll. They're proving our point that they are just so blatantly ignoring domestic terrorists, interrupting a valid, non-fraudulent election. It's infuriating. Okay. Them stopping this proceeding, this procedure, is a 100% treason. Treason. Start locking people up. Start throwing them in jail. Start throwing them in jail. Start locking them up for impeding on this process. I mean, look at the freaking chat. Look at the freaking chat. I mean, I know you guys can't see it all that well, but if I can go to the chat. Look at the chat. Okay. Funny how it's now rioters. It is rioters. You breached the building. Wow. Really? Okay. Guess I think the Capitol building's the White House. Okay, so they wouldn't. No audio. Everybody in the country is entitled to their opinion whatsoever. Don't like read. Wow. Okay. So yeah, a bunch of people are even in the chat room trying to fill it up so that the legitimate concerns, the ones that I just brought up, aren't able to go through. This is retarded. Any other culture, any other people, even any other political side does this shit. And there would be police lines throwing smoke, pepper spraying, shooting people. They would do that shit to anybody else. That just tells you that too many police and too many executive type officials are blatantly ignoring domestic terrorists. They breached a building, a government building. Some of them are probably armed inside that government building. You let them in because you didn't keep them back far enough, because you said it was a peaceful protest. Nobody else peaceful protest, just pro-Trump people, right? Yeah. Fucking piss off. Throw them. Further coverage. They turned the camera off. Yeah, something's about to happen. I guarantee you, something bad is about to happen, guys. This is ridiculous. I pretty much said they'd be done by 4 o'clock. That they were just certifying his. They're just certifying. They're literally just reading the results that have already been put in. It's ceremonious. If anything, they can go to a lockdown chamber and finish it and broadcast it for all to see. Be like, hey, here it is. New president, Joe Biden. Not this dipshit moved by domestic terrorists that, for all intent and purposes, thinks that that's going to change the outcome that's already been established. This is an attack on America. This is an attack on America. This is delaying any type of progress into the certification process. This is them outright saying, we don't accept this. That means you're traitors. You're traitors. You were going against the majority of the people in this country. You were traitors. You're done. Okay, you're done. Stop this shit. Somebody needs to put their foot down in the executive branch or in any type of branch that actually handles this, which is the executive branch, and needs to stop this immediately. If this is their continued protest, if this is their continued course of action, start locking them up. Start putting them in prison. Start putting them in jail. They are attacking America physically at this point. Physically attacking America. They're terrorists. Okay? If you can't see that, get out of the way and let the professionals handle this shit. This is what I was telling you guys to watch out for. This is their course of action. This is what I've been telling you guys to look at. They don't care. They don't care. And domestic terrorists don't care. That was my entire point. Oh, you're expecting things to go this way, this way, this way. But their continued efforts in undermining our democracy is right in front of you on camera. It was a second ago. On camera. Whole thing is titled "The Protesters Live Protest Trump Protest Rioters Swarm U.S. Capitol Building." And they are rioting because once you breach that building, you went from protesters to rioters. Okay. I want to hear you guys saying, "Oh, now they're rioters." Well, no shit. They breached a federal building in the middle of a session. That's rioting. Where are the police? Where's the SWAT team? Probably getting there. I would imagine. Probably getting there. I would hope. If we want any sort of accountability, it needs to happen right now. Right the second. And his camera needs to turn back on. And they need to show how it's being handled. Because this is... No. Let's go to somebody else who might have
my challenge today.
They just turned theirs off. Pro-Trump protesters rally outside Capitol. Lockdown amid protests. This says live. This says being locked down. Well, you're in the building, you morons. Of course they're going to have to lock down. get out the building, let them continue on with what they're doing before you're arrested. And he's got a gun. That guy in that picture, that's the live protest. That's the live freaking protest. You see that guy in that one? He has a freaking gun on him in a government building. They're letting this happen. They're letting this happen. Letting armed people into a federal building. That's illegal. They made laws about that during, I think, the Bush administration. I think there's just general laws about that. But I mean, you cannot protest on federal buildings. You're not allowed to do it anymore. You're not allowed to do it. There was laws implemented that said you had to be a certain amount of distance away from the building, or they're supposed to, like tear gas you, separate you, make you go away. But they didn't in this case. Look what they did. They let a guy with a gun into a federal building. They're allowing people to ignore these federal laws. They're allowing people to storm this building. And it's the senators allowing people to storm this building because they didn't put the proper security measures in place before the session started, because they knew this was going to happen. This is so belligerently obvious. This is the coup. This is the coup, guys. This is the start of the coup. I mean, we knew it was before, but it was all just talk before. It was all just talk. This is not talk. This is them physically breaching the Capitol. With guns. Look at this guy. Look at my mouse. Look at this guy. He has a gun. He's one of the protesters. He has a gun in a federal building. Why is he not on the floor with fucking 5 or 10 guards on top of his ass? What is going on here? What is going on here? Right here. This is illegal. These are terrorists. These are now terrorists in a federal building. Handle these terrorists inside this federal building immediately. I'm calling out to my government to protect us, to protect the institution of the democratic election, and to protect us from this. This is domestic terrorism. You want us to have faith in you again? Fix this right this second. Otherwise, nobody's going to have faith in you. If this is allowed to continue, and you guys end up letting them just kind of overthrow the damn government, yeah, I could be living right now in this moment, living in the actual start of a civil war. Right here, guys. Look at this. I'm not even fear-mongering. This guy's in a federal building with a gun. He's being allowed. Our government's looking away because he's white and a Trump supporter. This is the Senate's building. Capitol Hill, the Senate section. Senate's all for these people. Let them in. Yeah, we'll just go on lockdown. It'll be fine. You don't do that. You're allowing domestic terrorists into your building. A domestic terrorist. We're fucking screwed here. If this is not handled in the next 30 minutes to an hour, I'm outright fucking terrified. We're just gonna let this happen. If this country lets this happen, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm sure they'll be glad I'm gone. But if they don't handle this and fix this immediately, carry on with what they were doing, this becomes the norm, and the push for him to stay in office becomes stronger. And then they talk about how they're having a hard time getting Biden in with the people in the Pentagon like they were before. I'm leaving. I'm done. No, this is not okay. None of this is okay. These are all domestic terrorists right now. If the domestic terrorists win this fight, I'm leaving. Fuck all of you. This is outright retarded. Like, I'm not having any part of this. This is not America. If this is allowed to continue for any length of time. Let's go see if they actually turn their friggin' newsfeed back on. Oh, looks like they're doing something. Spraying them, maybe. Let me see. Nope, they're still right up there by the Capitol. Right by the doors. Some people are inside, and some of them have guns.
People from all across the country that have made it here to the Capitol. We know we saw them on
This is retarded.
on the north side of the Capitol where they
Wow.
have attempted and succeeded several times in breaking open the door.
Succeeded in breaking open the door. Saw that guy with the gun in there. These are not terrorists. Why are they not being handled? Where are the police? Where's the military? This is the federal government we're talking about here. We need the military. Oh, that's right. They're into Trump, so they're going to turn a blind eye. You have other things at your disposal, Congress. If both parts of Congress agree, and I think they will, to let you have some military aid, you can have it immediately, right now. You have phones. You have other means of communication to get in trouble with these people that will say, yes, here, we'll send them out immediately. This should not be going on for this long. There should already be military on the scene. There should already be police on the scene. And I don't see anything like that happening right up front here in this government building.
It sounds like
This is
they're chanting,
disturbing.
"Let us in now." The
Terrorists.
chants of "Let us in" are coming from the
Let us in?
north side of the Capitol.
No, you're
More
impeding
supporters have successfully made their
on a
way
federal
into
session.
how many people
You're impeding on a federal
several
session.
times.
You're in a federal building. Some of you got in with guns. I hope they arrested their asses, the ones that got in. They should not be allowed to be that close either. Peaceful protesters don't try to break into places, especially not federal buildings.
And since they have been on the outside of the door, I have not seen anyone make their way in. But right now, I'm seeing a lot of pushing
Christ.
against the officers.
This is
They
retarded.
believe that there's flags blocking the view, but
You should be hearing guns right now. I guarantee you, if it was like Black Lives Matters or something, you'd be hearing gunshots. There'd be a lot of dead people. No.
Trying to make their way.
This is sick. This is disturbing. This is not the country I live in. Get these people out of that building
They are saying
immediately.
this is our capital.
Chennai. Oh, sorry. My humor is trying to derail me from this. God, because it's just so unbelievable. It is. It's so freaking unbelievable. Well, wait. Push them off the stairs. You chose to be a terrorist.
Not sure exactly what that is. if that is
Terrorists. Terrorists everywhere. And some of them have guns. Some of them with guns managed to get into the building. Why they were not shot on the spot, I don't know. That guy's in freaking gear, for crying out loud. Jesus. This is an attack on our democracy. This is an attack on the democracy. It's not a peaceful protest. It's an attack on our democracy.
And again, this is an area too that people are not supposed to be. There was a fence that is telling
Yeah,
people do not
an
enter.
area they were not supposed to be in. They pushed down the fence.
Very
They
apparent
became
they
rioters at that
ignored
point.
that
Now there's a
on the
whole bunch
lawn
of
and just
rioters
made their way on up
fighting
to the
against
Capitol, as we saw earlier on
our
the
democracy.
now
That's called
continually
terrorism.
attempting to do here on the
Terrorists
north side of the
are at the front doors,
You can see some people
and
lining up
senators,
a little bit on the wall.
mainly GOP,
The guy in the
are
red.
doing nothing. Look at that. They went to the front side of the building. Front side of the building, just as bad. Letting them all the way up to the door. And not doing a damn thing about it. Nothing. They got traffic stopped, you know they do. Ain't nobody getting anywhere in that shit. Terrorists, guys. What terrorists look like. People that push back pass blockades, and forcefully enter federal buildings while they're in session, causing them to go on lockdown. They're attacking a federal building. I don't care if bombs aren't going off. This is an attack on a federal building. It needs to be handled. But you see how the Senate's handling it? By completely ignoring it and just going hiding and delaying the process. Delaying the process. That's it. I don't know how long it's been. 20 minutes of my video. This has been going on for probably at least a good hour. Damn well enough time to get the military out there and get these people off them steps. Get these people outside of the buildings. And continue on with your process. This is their plan. This was their plan all along. You know that, right? And it's such a small group of them. Toxic patriotism. Toxic white privilege. Toxic terrorism. I'm waiting for it to be handled. I'll keep this live feed going until they actually do something about it. I can't believe I'm witnessing this. Peaceful protests should have been kept peaceful, but now you're a bunch of rioters going past the borders that you were supposed to be at. Peaceful protesters do not breach areas to get closer. Peaceful protesters do not do this stuff. Losing feed. Let's see. Storm past police.
I mean, this is, it is shocking footage to see, but as Rhonda Colvin said earlier, it's frankly not surprising.
Not surprising. Well, why aren't other measures being taken?
Ramping up, coming primarily from President Trump himself. You can see there a broken window of the U.S. Capitol building.
Stupid.
James.
I'll just say in my office, the building in which my office is located, Capitol Police have been running through the hallway, so you'll occasionally hear a commotion.
Capitol Police running through the
outside,
hallways.
and I'm not sure
Why are they not
whether or
surrounding the
it's
building and
Capitol
pushing
Police or
back
one
on
of
this?
the
Why don't
protesters,
Capitol Police
and
do
then
something
just
about this?
Continuing to wait on further updates from the Capitol Police.
You're allowing this to
what
happen.
did
You're
you
probably telling them
witness today? What have
to
you
stand
seen?
down.
Well,
They're probably telling them to stand down and not do anything hostile to a bunch of terrorists because they're in on this shit. They're in on this shit. They need, I mean, not that guy particularly, but the people that are, more than half of Congress, obviously, is for this. So they're getting very little protection and very little is being done to thwart this.
apparently, from texts I'm getting from friends of mine who serve in the Senate, they were able to get into the Senate chamber as well. So that is just absolutely inexplicable to me that this happened. But ultimately, though, the bigger threat, in my view, is not the thousands of people who are here today, even though they're armed and they are a threat.
They're armed.
The bigger threat is actually those who have been
armed
all along the way, cheering this on. That's the real threat.
They're armed. They are a real threat. You know they're a threat, dude. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. They got into the Capitol building. They're now in here. They've stopped the progress.
There seems to be a moment right now of stasis, for lack of a better word. Right now, the Capitol is not under control. It's still...
Where are the Capitol Police? If they know they're in that building, why aren't they arresting them?
Come inside the Capitol. I mean, look at the image. I don't know if you can see it. We're seeing people inside offices, ceremonies.
Why are you allowing this? Come on, GOP. Why are you allowing this? Oh, that's right. You want this to happen because the GOP, as far as I'm concerned, the entire GOP has just become a terrorist organization that are against the people of the United States. They're against the democratic process. They're doing very little to nothing to thwart this shit. That's what you want? That's what you wanted? Because that's what you are now. Look at them. They're just standing. Look at the Capitol Police. Look at the Capitol Police. Could you please leave? We know you're armed, but you gotta go. Any other group, they would have shot them dead. If not, beat them to a bloody pulp and escorted them out of the building. Any other group. As far as I'm concerned right now, the entire GOP are nothing but a bunch of domestic terrorists. You're against democracy. You're against the people of this country, the majority of people in this country. No, I got nothing. Nothing's being done. Capitol Police are just politely trying to ask armed people in the Capitol to leave. Armed people in a federal building. And the people that are supposed to handle it are just like, oh, could you guys just get out? What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? And you're stopping a count of a vote that's already been taken on top of that. You chose today to start a civil war when the count has already been determined. This is just ceremony. Just ceremony. You don't have the majority. You don't have the majority of the Senate.
That plan, and we certainly saw pictures a moment ago, still pictures of security officials with weapons drawn.
You do hear sirens coming, so maybe they're getting the idea that, oh shit, well, we can't just keep staying here doing nothing. Look at this. Like, okay, the guy got gear on. The guy's got a helmet on. Here, I'll put my mouse over it. This guy's got a freaking helmet on. He's got full riot gear on. He's not one of the police, actually. He is. He's got a police uniform on. Why is he not, like, telling these people to leave? He's just watching them walk through. I can't imagine what they're saying. Any other type of organization say anything, they wouldn't give a shit. They beat them back out of the Capitol building. Get out. This is disturbing.
A door. So the situation is extremely serious as it plays out right now. I want to go to Kristen Welker.
This breach of the U.S. Capitol. Now, the messaging that we're getting from the White House, this is the latest from Vice President Mike Pence, who says the violence and destruction taking place at the U.S. Capitol must stop, and it must stop now. Anyone involved must respect law enforcement officers and immediately leave the building. Similar language from President Trump in a pair of tweets that he sent out earlier, Lester, but his supporters believe that that just does not go far enough, that they want to hear from President Trump himself, that they want him to come out and address his supporters.
Sick. This is a sick joke. They had the guns drawn, ready to fight, and then they were like, oh, no, we're just going to put these back, and we're just going to tell them to respect us, and please don't come in. You guys are sick. Contain this problem immediately. Immediately. Okay, this is the guy that's with the majority of the people. Contain this immediately. Do your damn jobs. Throw some of these people in prison. Contain it.
And tell them, bottom line.
Want to protect our safety, but I've been covering this building for 11 years. I've never obviously seen anything like this. I usually can't get through security with my AirPods or my belt, and these people have broken down doors. This is a mob. This is not a protest. This is an armed mob, and this is despicable and really, really, really unsafe, and we're all very scared.
Did you have you? I know you're in lockdown right now, but have you heard any of the protesters nearby?
Oh yeah, when I was at the beginning of the protest, I walked outside to see what was going on and walked past a floor up. I was standing elevated, and people were breaking down the windows to very, very
government building. You have people there.
Secure doors. They had a flagpole and they were knocking through windows. We've heard banging on our doors. We saw SWAT teams with long guns walking through the building.
I fortunately was not in the chamber. All of my colleagues and members of Congress who were in the chamber were taken out. We still, where I am right now, have not been evacuated from the Capitol building, but hope to be soon, frankly, because we don't have security like many members of Congress do.
Yeah. All right, Jake, stay safe, and we do hope we'll get you out of there as soon as possible. Savannah.
Hi, Lester. I want to bring in Senator Tammy Duckworth, who, of course, is a veteran herself, a wounded veteran, I might add. Senator Duckworth, were you on the Senate floor when this happened? How are you doing? Are you safe?
I am safe. I'm barricaded in a secure location. I was actually on my way to the Senate floor in the tunnels underneath the Capitol when the Capitol Police turned me around and had me go to a secure location. So I am safe with a couple of my staff members, and I've defended our Constitution for 23 years in their service, and now for 8 years here on the Capitol Hill, and I've never. In my wildest dreams, would I ever think that Americans would do this to our own nation's
Americans
capital?
Anymore. The traitors.
I'm sure you are seeing the images I'm seeing. The United States Senate, the floor of the United States Senate, the Congress.
They are traitors. They are no longer citizens of this country. They are traitors and should be treated as such. But what is our government, who are supposed to enforce these things, doing? Nothing. Nothing. These people are wiping their asses with our Constitution, wiping their asses with our democracy. And they're doing next to nothing. Letting them prounce around, do whatever the fuck they want. This is stupid. Really close. Depending on how this unfolds, I'm so glad I decided to take the rest of the day off. Depending on how this all goes down today, I might be leaving. I don't give a shit. Depending on how this goes down today, I might be getting the fuck out of here. Our government just keeps turning a blind eye to this shit. I'm done. I'm fucking done. This is stupid. Get these fucking terrorists out of this government building. Come on. What do we got? What do we got here?
When you were on your way to the Capitol and you were turned around in a rush, I mean, what went through your mind? Did you feel fear or concern or anxiety about your own safety?
I don't. I did not feel fear or concern. I did what the Capitol Police asked me to do, because that is the best thing to do, is just to follow their direction, and to take myself out of the equation so that I would be one less person they would have to worry about, and that they could concentrate on their jobs.
Got some police up there.
Focus on those who were breaching the Capitol.
But they're not touching the people
I will
up
tell
there.
you
Notice
this,
that.
these protesters will not stop me from carrying out my duties as have been laid out for me in the Constitution. And if we have to be here all night and all day tomorrow and the next day, we will continue to carry out the work that needs to be done. And I'm not going to be deterred from standing my ground. I will not quit my post. I will be here, and I will do the people's business.
Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, thank you for calling in. Stay safe. Keep us posted. We'll stay in touch with you. Appreciate it. Lester, over to you.
Thanks. I want to bring in Hallie Jackson right now, Savannah, who is, of course, our chief White House correspondent. Hallie,
but they're in the back of the
president spoke to this crowd today. So much of what we've been hearing, of course, is that the inauguration will go on the 20th. Are there concerns that what's happening today could, obviously you can't move that date, but could have a tremendous effect on how we mark that day?
No.
You can't imagine, Lester, that it's not going to, right? Or at least have a discussion or a conversation about that, given what we're seeing unfolding. I think to give people some perspective here, and remember, in inaugurations past, this is what happens. You have typically the president-elect on the west front of the Capitol. You have that sort of parade down Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. Things had.
So they're going on about, oh, well, we don't have to worry about it because, this process is still going to go on. Not unless you stop this shit. This is their freaking civil war. This is the start of their civil war. This is the start of them being traitors. You can talk about what we're supposed to do all you want to. Unless you stop this stuff, nobody is going to do what they're. Oh, just a bunch of people storming the Capitol building. Storming the freaking Capitol building. Any other group, Black Lives Matter, it doesn't matter, whatever. Any other group storms this building, I guarantee you the police would either be shooting them, beating them to a bloody pulp, but there would be SWAT teams out pushing them back. In this case, they have cops standing around inside the building after they broke in, saying, "Oh, could you please leave? Could you get out? Can't be here." Letting them barge around inside. This is domestic terrorism. That's what's going on right now. Domestic terrorism. Stalling a democratic process. And they want to talk about, oh, this isn't going to do anything. Guess who's coming for you? Guess who's coming for you? They dispersed the National Guard. Took them long enough. Let me see what it says.
You see on the screen, I think it is also important to note as we talk about the process, Congressman Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania happening, and very much as that you have talked about, Lester, as you hear aimed at other countries, not the United States.
Right about here.
That you haven't ever heard aimed at the United States. To give you some perspective of the way that this is being seen and the way that it is being perceived and happening here in the United States and around the world as well.
What's going on right now, by the way?
As far as the president goes, another one of his allies, again, more and more of his allies coming out now saying he needs to appear.
They're just letting them sit inside. All these guys are protesters. Everybody filming right now.
Question marks,
it's a protester.
As our studios are kind of going off here, I'm just going to hang this phone up. Question marks on whether the president would deliver, for example, a written statement, a speech. A written statement isn't going to cut it at this point. And frankly, Lester, I think there is also a fair question of whether a formal deliverance of remarks from President Trump is enough to stop what's happening here, to get these rioters, frankly, to turn around and leave the Capitol. We know now, based on the reporting from our teams, that the National Guard, and the press secretary has confirmed that the National Guard is coming in. You have other states now, neighboring states here, Maryland and Virginia, sending in the National Guard as well. The change of mission has been approved.
We watch more security descend on the Capitol, preparing for whatever may come. And we should also note, before I hand it back over to Savannah, those pictures we've been seeing of people occupying offices and parts of the Capitol, those pictures are shocking, but it should also be noted they are potential evidence as well. Savannah?
No question about that for a later time, but right now we're still in the middle of it. This Capitol not under control, but in fact overrun by a group, a mob of people. Let me get to Pete Williams. I think he's got some reporting on the law enforcement efforts here. Pete, what is the plan here, or what is beginning to be a plan?
Well, we know now that the FBI has been deployed at the request of Capitol Police to help.
National
we know that
Guard
Homeland Security is sending people.
And the Capitol Police, who are of no help whatsoever. Capitol Police are just letting them do this.
Police from the D.C.
Armed people. They let armed people into the building.
Police department, in addition to the Capitol
Anybody armed getting in that building, unauthorized, should be shot immediately.
So they
don't care who you are.
They won't, at some point later, lack for manpower to empty out the Capitol. And that's obviously the immediate chore here, is to get the Capitol emptied out, secured. They've got to go through all these spaces and make sure that they're swept and secure, and that nobody else is hiding out inside the building. You're looking at now at the house side of the Capitol complex. That's Independence Avenue, where traffic is being restricted. Police are using that as a sort of a staging area. And then you see the Capitol come into the view. That's the House chamber on your left.
Here,
then the center, the rotunda.
A lot of stuff.
And that little sort of square section between the House and the rotunda. Inside there is Statuary Hall, under that curved dome with the little cupola on top. Under that is Statuary Hall. That's the old House chamber, and that's where you saw those dramatic pictures today of people streaming from the rotunda toward the House chamber, which is what now is just disappearing on the left side of the screen. And then the center part of the Capitol, and then on the right would be the Senate chamber. Obviously, that is the concern now, to get things squared away so that the counting can resume. You were talking about this earlier, Savannah. by law, by the Electoral Counting Act, it has to start today, but there's no limit in how long it takes. They'll keep going until they're done.
Right.
And if they're not done by Inauguration Day, and I have no reason to think that they won't be, but if they're not, then there's procedures to have.
They're still being allowed in.
There's the Succession Act.
Why?
The Speaker would become president temporarily until they can figure out who the president is, which obviously will be. Now, on the law enforcement side, we've noted that one person was shot inside the U.S. Capitol by someone from law enforcement, not sure which agency that was.
One person.
We've been told by law enforcement authorities that at least one improvised explosive device was found on the Capitol grounds.
Let's never mind the guns.
Building, but on the
Let's
Capitol
not mind
grounds,
the guns at all.
And possibly
let's just find the guy that had the explosive device.
We know that law enforcement people are looking at that. Earlier this afternoon, before we saw people storming the Capitol, the big concern was evacuation of the Library of Congress, which is directly across the street from the Capitol, and a portion of a House office building.
Let's talk about how piss poor this response has been. There we go. Got the FBI and crap going in. And kind of in between the crowds, junk like that. But this is a piss poor response. This is just, they're doing it because they know they're on every single media camera they can possibly think of. The slowest response time I've ever seen in the history of freaking response times for this kind of stuff. Like, I heard about the protests going on, Black Lives Matter movement, peaceful protests, where they sent the anti-protesters in to break stuff. Then they just belligerently sprayed everybody, just without remorse, because, you know, they don't know how to differentiate people dressed in all black and freaking covering their faces and everything. And this is just stupidity. This is retarded. Retarded. Showed a guy with a gun close to the Capitol Police, had the gun on his shoulder inside a federal building earlier. Tell me that's not belligerent ignorance of actually doing anything. I can almost guarantee this group of Democrats, they would have just shot them all dead. Because this is majority led by Republicans, and I guarantee you, they didn't care that they stormed the building. They wanted them to. This is the start of the coup, and they're either going to have the National Guard show up and be giving contradicting orders on how to handle this situation, not get anything done, have this be like a standoff forever until the National Guard all of a sudden goes, hey, the military and the National Guard are actually on these people's sides, and they're going to take over the building. How freaking disturbing would that be? But not outside the scope of reality. These people don't understand. Talking about, oh, the process, we'll be fine, the process, fine, democratic process. They're freaking trying to mess that up right this second. And your best response time was a few hours? And the first person breaking through that door? Serious? Serious? No. This is uncalled for. This is all uncalled for. They're just letting this happen. That was earlier. Come on, show me a live feed. I'm going to go back and try to find a live feed again. National Guard deployed. Okay. Back to the main page where I searched. Come on, people. I'll just do it over here. Okay. Senate abruptly called into recess. Protesters. Live feed. Come on. And of course, you know what's really funny. Fox News is probably glorifying this as patriots trying to take back their country. That's not going to go unnoticed by anybody. I guarantee if they say anything like that, Fox News needs to be file charges against them for incitement. You're inciting people to go against democracy. That's treason. There you go. Another organization that has treason. Oh my god. Can't even throw this around lightly. This is just what they're doing. What he's saying about it.
Our republic. An assault on the rule of law like few times we've ever seen it. An assault on the most sacred of American undertakings, the doing of the people's business. Let me be very clear. The scenes of chaos at the Capitol do not reflect a true America, do not represent who we are. What we're seeing are a small number of extremists dedicated to lawlessness.
What do we call extremists?
This is not dissent.
Terrorists.
It's disorder.
It is.
It's chaos.
Chaos.
It borders on sedition. And it must end now. I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. You've heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite.
This guy, this my friend, is incitement.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now.
Tell them to get the hell out of there.
Fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege. To storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection. The world's watching.
Insurrection.
Like so many other Americans.
Terrorists.
I am genuinely shocked and saddened that our nation, so long the beacon of light and hope for democracy, has come to such a dark moment. Through war and strife, America's endured much. And we will endure here, and we will prevail again, and we'll prevail now. The work of the moment and the work of the next 4 years must be the restoration of democracy, of decency, honor, respect, the rule of law, just plain, simple decency. The renewal of the politics. It's about solving problems, looking out for one another, not stoking the flames of hate and chaos. As I said, America is about honor, decency, respect, tolerance. That's who we are. That's who we've always been. The certification of the Electoral College vote is supposed to be a sacred ritual.
I got nothing.
We affirm the purpose of the majesty of American democracy.
Really, really hope.
But today's reminder, a painful one, that democracy is fragile, and to preserve it requires people of goodwill, leaders with the courage to stand up, who are devoted not to the pursuit of power, or the personal interest pursuits of their own selfish interest at any cost, but of the common good. Think what our children watching television is thinking.
I can't believe I have to watch this.
Think
crap.
what the rest of the world is looking at.
Ridiculous.
For nearly 2.5 centuries, we, the people, in search of a more perfect union, ever kept our eyes on that common good. America's so much
All
better
right.
than
Well,
we've seen
I've been having this on here for about an
Watching
hour
the
or
scenes
so,
in
but
the Capitol, I was
this
reminded
is.
as I prepared other speeches in the past.
I'm gonna take a break. I have to get some food.
Words of
in me.
Abraham Lincoln.
Getting hungry.
His annual message to Congress.
But I'll be back
His
later.
work
Hopefully with
has
better
today
news.
been interrupted
Hopefully
by
with better
chaos.
news.
Here's what Lincoln said.
Stay safe, everybody.
He said, "We shall nobly
Stay
save
safe.
or merely lose the last best hope on earth."